What is going on, investors? Back again. Time to talk about the Boeing company, ticker symbol BA. I'm going to walk you through their Q4. They just reported Q4 full year revenues. We'll talk about the revenues. We'll look at the balance sheet. We'll look at cash flows. We'll see what's going on with Boeing in terms of their financials. Spoiler alert, it was a disaster of a year, and I can think you can imagine why it was. And we'll get over to the stock chart. Is this stock a buy? What levels are we looking at? Can we still come in here and buy this stock? Some interesting stuff going on here. Now, over the last year, the stock is down 37%. Pretty bad, but things are getting a little bit better because 737 MAX, which is their big plane, they've got stacks of these all over the place. They've just got tons of inventory, and it's now cleared to fly in Europe. And so that is good. Now we just need to get people back on airplanes flying for leisure and business travel. And I think you can imagine we're probably still a year or two away from that having a full ramp up, but it will likely slowly come back over time. Let's not waste any time. Let's get into the numbers. That's what you're here for. 12 months ended here. We've got 19 over 20, and then we've got the most recent quarter here ended in December, 19 over 20. So we've got sales of products. Obviously, we saw that come back just a little bit, okay? $47 billion in the year. In the quarter, we had we'll call that 12.5. Annualize this out, times this by 4, and you're closer to 50, actually. And so you're a little bit over our annualized number. So it's a good quarter. Obviously, the year way down over the previous year. We did 66 billion in the previous year. And you see here, we went from 15.6 in a really good year down to 12.5. Not too bad, okay? Service revenues basically flat year over year and quarter over quarter as well. We've got total revenues. So for a full year, we went from 77 billion all the way down to 58. Wow, that's a disaster. And over the last quarter, went from about 18 billion down to 15 billion. Now, not the full story, because guess what? We got lots of costs. We got cost of our products, cost of our services. Take a look. They actually lost money on their products. They spent 54.5 billion to make 47 billion. Yeah, you do that for a long period of time and you will go bankrupt. You see, in the previous year, more normalized environment, it's not a high margin business, okay? They spent we'll call that 63 to make 66 billion. Not a high margin business. So you can see any disruption like what we've had this year, and this company's financials basically fall apart. And, spoiler alert, the stock chart will fall apart as well. So total costs and expenses came in at 63. We made 58. That means we lost $5.7 billion. This is for the full year. You see here in the quarter, we lost basically $5.7 billion in the quarter. So it's just continues to get worse for Boeing. So moving down through, we've got more costs. Guess what? We've got general administrative costs. Spoiler alert, it's not good. It actually rose this year, so that's not good. And our research and development actually went down. This is a bad combination, in my opinion. You got G&A costs rising, research and development dropping. I'd like to see that flip-flop. Maybe it will, soon, but it didn't in the most recent quarter, and in the most recent year, we spent $12 billion and $8 billion in the quarter. That takes us down to a net loss of about $12 billion for the year, which I think is a record loss. They lost $20 per share. Wow, that's an absolute disaster. Now, how well capitalized is Boeing? We know that they're probably going to go through, I would guess, at least another 12 months of this. Maybe not as bad as it's been, but they're probably going to go through some turmoil for a period of time. Now, on the cash side, we've got 24 billion. We've got this 7.7 plus, this is closer to 25 billion, and short-term investments here. Obviously, we know they didn't get this from running the business. This is from some kind of debt raise. So we'll look at that here in a second. Let's come down here to last thing I wanted to show you is just inventory. They've got a lot of inventory, okay? They've got a lot of planes. So if they can get these things flying, they can get airlines healthy and start buying these things. Guess what? They've got lots of inventory. So that is a good thing. Now, long-term debt. We tripled this. Take a look. We went from 19.9 all the way up to 61. We basically tripled our debt. So what happens to servicing costs? You can come up here. So we've got interest and debt expense. Okay, guess what? This probably tripled. Yeah, okay, we went from 722 million in interest debt expense last year all the way up to $22.1 billion. Okay, over the last quarter, yeah, it basically tripled. We went from $242 million in debt up to 698. This is the interest. Think about this as like the interest on your credit card or the interest on your mortgage. If you triple that balance, guess what? You probably pay triple the interest, and that's exactly what happened to a Boeing. So good thing is it shored up their balance sheet on the cash side. Bad sign is it is taking some money out of the business in terms of interest expense. Now, from a cash flow perspective, honestly, it gets even worse for Boeing. Okay, 12 months ended, we lost 11.9. We pulled down that net income number. Net cash provided by operating activities, negative $18 billion. You see, it was actually negative in 2019 as well, because that's, I believe, when the MAX plane got grounded. But, oh man, you lose $18 billion in a year. Again, this is a company with only, I would say only, but they have $25 billion of cash sitting on the balance sheet. You have another year where $18 billion flows out of the business. Well, guess what? They're probably going to have to raise more money. I'm not saying that's probable, but that is definitely possible if next year or this year, 2021, goes badly. We see debt repayments here. So they repaid some debt, but they borrowed a crap ton of money. Okay, no other way to say it, but $47 billion is a lot of money. And they actually burned through a fair amount of that just to keep the lights on over at Boeing. Now, I know I kind of eviscerated their financials because guess what? It's really bad, but the stock chart's not that bad, okay? This thing kind of bottomed out here at 150. I've got us on a monthly chart here because I wanted to show you a really broad view. This chart goes all the way back to 2015. I wanted to show you this level at 150. This was a decent area to buy the stock because it was kind of this long-term just support for the stock. So 150, obviously we're at 195 or $40 away. If this stock trends down, I don't necessarily think we get all the way down to 150, but if the trend reverses in this thing, I think intermediate term, you could stop here at about we'll call that 185. That might not be a bad spot if you believe in Boeing long term. Now, what it's having trouble doing is pushing through this big solid green candle. Back in 2017, Boeing had a great month. Okay, it just had a big month where it went from about $200 per share all the way up to $240 in a month. And we see here this candle is proving hard for this because this stock kind of wicked through it, came back down, came up here, tried to get through it, and then came back down. Sellers are stepping in at this area. So this is a key level right here, right? We'll call this 240 for Boeing. Key area where it's going to be resistance, but at some point this could be the launching point for Boeing stock, in my opinion. Any push above 240, and you probably have a stop at the 50-day moving average, but there's a fair amount of green skies above this. Okay, there'll be stops along the way, but I would guess this stock, if everything gets back to normal, this stock maintains its lead in the aerospace and commercial airline business, which I think it will. It has basically a monopoly in the business, and we can easily get back up to, this could easily be a 300, 340 stock. So from a price chart perspective, this one has some green sky above it. And I tell you what, your downside on this one, I think, is back down to the 150s. I mean, it could certainly go lower than that, but I think in the shorter term, downside's 150, upside, not in the short term, but in the longer term is 350, 340. Tell you what, I like that risk reward. Okay, so you got to digest these things in phases, okay? The financials are a complete disaster. We know why, but if they can get this plane, this is a key plane. They've got tons of it sitting in inventory. They can get it back on track, get it back in the air, get people healthy, get people flying for leisure and business. It's a company that can make a comeback. So we'll see what happens with a Boeing going forward. Hopefully you guys enjoyed this video. Let me know in the comments down below what you would do with Boeing. Hopefully you guys are having a great day. Good luck with your investments.